what's up you guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I will be talking about The Power of Love by Elizabeth Chandler. The Power of Love is the second book in the Kissed by an Angel series by Elizabeth Chandler, so if you have not watched my review for the first book, Kissed by an Angel, I would recommend going and watching that. It is spoiler-free, and it does contain, though, a lot of information about the synopsis of this series, so it's really important, I think, that you either read and watch that video and then read this one, or at least go watch the first video, then come back here so that you can kind of get an idea of what the second one is about. So I'm not going to go into the synopsis of the first one because I really would like to spend more time talking about the second installment of this book. So The Power of Love takes place a month after Tristan's death, who is the boyfriend of our main character, Ivy. And in the first book, I will say there was a car accident where Tristan did die, and we learned that he is Ivy's guardian angel. Now, over the course of the first book, we learned that, there's obviously something really weird going on. The accident may not have been truly an accident. And in the second book, Tristan is basically trying to still prove the fact that that accident was not completely an accident and that there was something much more sinister going on. Throughout this time, though, Ivy still does not know that Tristan is even with her. He is unable to communicate with her and tell her that he is with her. And it's a lot of basically Tristan trying to not only communicate with her, but trying to figure out exactly what's been going on. And throughout all this time, Ivy is also trying to piece together exactly what happened, because she's starting to see a lot of really strange things kind of pop up over time, things that she's not quite sure about in terms of like the timeline of when Tristan died and when other things had happened in the first book, and then things about Tristan's death are still kind of up in the air. People don't really seem to know what exactly happened, and Ivy's also starting to notice that several of her friends are acting very strangely, and she's just trying to figure out what's exactly going on. So basically we have two different kinds of people going in through this entire series trying to figure out what really happened in this accident, what really happened, and why was it that Tristan died, because obviously things are not as they seem, and everything is becoming a little bit more sinister. The further on that you go in this book, the more dark and twisted it becomes. In the first video I had mentioned with Kissed by an Angel, I talked about how this was kind of a paranormal, supernatural, YA romance with some mystery thriller aspects. The Power of Love really brings in a lot more of those mystery thriller aspects the more that we start digging into this story of exactly what happened leading up to Tristan's ultimate death, and kind of piecing together the things about what's going on in town, what's going on with people that Ivy knows, and how are they connected to possibly what might have happened. A lot of suspicion is thrown around, a lot of people are kind of acting strangely, and she doesn't quite really know what to believe at this point, and she still can't really believe that Tristan is anywhere near her, because since he's died, she's had this real distaste for the belief of angels anymore, when she used to be this huge believer in angels. And so this kind of inner conflict that she has over time with wanting to solve this, but also not sure whether it's good to leave things dead in the past and everything. It's a huge proponent as to why I love this series, because I think that ultimate yearning that Tristan has for just wanting to be able to hold Ivy and tell her it's okay and help her with this whole thing, and seeing Ivy not even know that Tristan's there, it's just one of the most heartbreaking things, because this is a series that always made me used to think about, what I think I might be going through if I had gone through something like this. Now, when I was in high school, when I had read this, I was single. I had no intention of, at the time, being involved with somebody in this way. At least at the time, there were definitely a couple of guys I had fallen for over the course of my high school career, don't get me wrong, but nothing to where I had felt this with like Ivy feels about Tristan. And now, as a 23, nearly 24-year-old woman who is now married to my high school sweetheart, who is one of my best friends, I cannot imagine a world without him. And I think that if I was to think of a world where I did not have him, where he died in some awful accident, I have a distinct feeling I would be really feeling like how Ivy is. I would be lost. I would be heartbroken. It would be really hard for me, I think, to just be able to talk with people about it, because no one's gonna really understand what I've gone through. Like, especially if it was to happen something like now, which, knock on wood, doesn't happen. But the thing is that this story, I think now that I'm an adult, it hits a little harder for me because now I'm in a position where I have somebody that I love dearly and that if I had lost them would be completely heartbroken over. And it's kind of one of those things where it brought such a tear to my eye to even think about that I just felt so much more for Tristan and Ivy the further I went along with this series. Apologies if there is a slight change in angle. My battery died and I had to replace it with my other one. Basically, what I'm gonna say, other than what I've already said about this, is I think again, I rated this 4 out of 5 stars, and it's mostly, once again, because the writing style is very dated. And that's, I think, why I can't 100% give these things 5 stars, because it's not as good writing as it would be, I think, if it was written in a more modern setting and a more modern time. However, the real crux of the story, the real meat of the story is still super impactful, and it did what it needed to do. It's really just being nitpicky at this point for me because I love this series so much. There's such a huge bias for me when it comes to this because I've loved this series since I was in high school. It has a lot of very fond memories along with it from my youth, and it's just honestly one of my most favorite romantic stories I've ever read. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't have its flaws, because obviously with it having been written in the 90s, the length of the book itself, which is around 230 pages, is not my favorite thing in the world. I, if anything, wish that this entire omnibus of the first 3 books in the series were one book. And you will see that if you read these books back to back to back, the original trilogy, it very well could have all been one book. It should have been all one book, but back in the 1990s, if you did not know, the young adult genre typically didn't publish books that were more than 250 pages because at the time that was not something that was marketable. That was not something that people wanted. Nowadays, you will see any young adult fantasy go from anywhere between 350 to 600 pages, and anything past that is usually already considered an adult fantasy novel or whatever, adult something. It just feels like the story cuts off at such a weird point because they couldn't go over a certain page length with it, and honestly, like I said, these first 3 books could have just been one, and that's another very nitpicky thing. But those two things combined, the writing style of the 90s and the page length that it was for the second story, it just doesn't equate to 100% 5-star read. It's something I love. It's nostalgic for me. I think it still is very good in terms of the overall story. The execution is just not as great as I had wanted it to be because it's not written in a time that I think it would have fared a little bit better. That's pretty much all I have to say on it. So let me know what you guys thought of The Power of Love. If you have read the Kissed by an Angel series, what your thoughts were on it. What were some of your theories that you had in terms of this if you have read it? Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and become a little owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys!